Welcome back to War Thunder Weekly News. This week I got two major stories for you and some rumors at the end. So hit the subscribe button, let's get into this. The first major story you may have already heard about, but it's still a pretty big deal, is Gaijin's proposal of a new repair system. Well, I could read this verbatim or go into detail. Really, all I have to say is it's basically how things work in arcade. If a section of your vehicle is destroyed, after waiting for a bit, it will function, but barely. Responses to this were varied. Some people liked it because it was a change. A lot of people didn't like it because it was too arcadey. I personally have to lean towards the little too arcadey system. I don't like the idea that your tank just magically fixes itself. If, however, they had a thing where if you didn't have a repair kit, you still had to hold down a key to repair, and then after that repair time, your tank was usable but poorly repaired, opposed to it just magically happening. I think that would get rid of some of the arcadey aspect of it, but still not be annoying at all. But what I think is really important about this is why Gaijin is doing this, because we already had them try to cater to the players' demands in the form of reducing the research costs for parts and FPE, making parts the first thing you automatically research, and making it so you only have to research parts to be able to research FPE. But this is another step, and I'm wondering, perhaps maybe this kerfuffle that happened about parts and FPE, perhaps maybe Gaijin actually did lose a number of players, because there's a lot of people saying they're quitting, and Gaijin is currently really realizing that they need to change up the way they squeeze money out of us. The next story is a major one in my opinion. It looks as if, according to a data miner by the name of Tsunoda Kotori, it seems highly likely that Japan is going to be the next nation that gets a navy. So first off, a torpedo turret, a 140mm turret, and an MG turret for the Kuma-class cruiser were discovered, although apparently there's conflicting assets with the 6mm MG turret. A 76mm turret for the Leningrad-class destroyer Leader was discovered. The torpedo turret of the Musuki, Fubuki, or Akizuki-class destroyer were discovered. The data miner could not determine which ship they would be attached to, although perhaps he didn't know this at the time, but on the original Fleet CBT trailer, there was a small section of the video in which you could see the Akizuki-class destroyer. He also noticed the Ayanami-class destroyer was also discovered with a full model, but with the wrong name of the Fubuki. The turret of either the Porter or Summers class destroyer was discovered. I've already talked about this, but files for the Prince Eugen have been discovered, and a Japanese 40mm turret file was found. He was unable to verify what vehicle this would be attached to. So in total, if you notice, there's quite a few Japanese ships in this list and no Italian ones. So I'm very certain the next navy we're going to get is the Japanese one, which would make sense. There's a lot of Japanese naval fans, although I don't think we're going to get them 1.85 because that'd be a large load of Italian tanks and Japanese Navy, and maybe anything else that comes if that leak list is true. I'm thinking patch afterwards we're probably going to get the Japanese Navy, although hey, I could be wrong. I wasn't suspecting German helicopters. But other Navy news, you've probably already heard about this. There was a weird event where if you completed some tasks you could test drive, not own, but test drive the VS-8, a mine-laying craft. Now, a lot of people are upset that it's just a test drive, but I understand what they're doing here. Is if they put it up for sale and sold it and it either sucked too bad or was too OP, they couldn't get rid of it because people paid for it. But if they give it out as a test drive, nobody has official ownership of it, no one paid for it, so they could just scrap the whole thing if they didn't want it anymore. From what I've observed, it seems the biggest issue with it is its guns kind of suck, being only 15 mils, and the mines, at first they only last 2 minutes and self-destructed, and then later were changed to last 4 minutes and self-destructed, which is better, but I personally think mines should act like mines act, lasting until the game ends, which isn't that big of a deal because games only last like 15 minutes, and just let people shoot them to disarm them, of course at a distance, as they're not impossible to see once they're put into the water. Now the other big naval news is that the OS2Us are back in the resource tree for America, and if you have the second rank of the US Navy tree, you automatically get the first one. Now these planes are borderline OP and probably should be 8.0. They have an overwhelming firepower of 1 30 cal and 2 100-pound bombs. And a destructive defensive fire of 1 30 cal. I'm surprised that they are bringing this back. It's going to bring the end to air forces, as this thing will just dominate the entire field. Now here we got to the end of the video, and I want to talk about these so-called leaks that I brought up. The first rumor is that I heard, I can't bring this to a direct source, is that devlogs are going to start on Tuesday the 20th, and the patch is going to drop on the 20th of December, which I believe is around the same time patch dropped last year. So this is actually a rather believable time frame. It gives about a month of dev blogs and other such stuff. Although sometimes they have the first dev blog on a Friday. Now the other stuff is about Bacon Gaming, who has been pumping out leak videos of various things. Now the first thing I should bring up is the YouTuber Epic Blitzkrieg, who I've brought up in the past, came to me saying that the leak list that Bacon had uploaded matched the stuff that he has learned, although it was from a different character. And then at the end he said tier 5 premiums are there now. And it happened to be at 7 in the morning. I think I was playing Fallout 76, which isn't as bad as people say it is, although it's not amazing, and it deserves the low reviews that it's getting. So I'm not entirely sure what he was talking about, but apparently he was sharing information with Bacon Gaming. According to him, the BI-1 and BI-6 Russian rocket planes, the Shackleton British bomber, and the Wilkins Wasteland in the I-250, which is a very weird Russian plane, are to be added, and the Ariete for Italy. And now in Bacon Gaming's video, he does link to some of Mike 10D's data mines that bring up the Shackleton and the Wilkins, which we have photos of. Those being basically legit, brings more credibility to the weird Russian planes. Now Bacon talked to two other characters, one named Oposto, who states that there'll probably be some second-gen ATGM system for Japan, a Vietnam map for ground forces, the Curtiss Wright CW-21, which is a very odd plane, used only by Dutch East Indies and China, and some say Japan as well via captured from conquering the Dutch East Indies. And this particular model was actually not only used by China, but was also constructed in China, although the parts were made in America and sent over there. And apparently the Regina line is going to be continued. And at the end he states again that the I-205 weird Russian plane is talked about but can't be confirmed. Now if you notice of these dates, he talked to Oposto yesterday at 13:30, and he talked to Blitzkrieg at a today of 6:20. Now both of these images come from the same video that was posted on the same day of November 18th. And the final image was from a separate video where Bacon was talking about British jets that are supposed to be coming. And I'm not going to go through every jet, but one thing that brought up was the Sea Vexen Prototype, and whoever he was talking to said, oh yeah, that one too. Now the Sea Vexen Prototype is a very interesting plane in the terms of War Thunder. It's actually been talked about for a very long time in the community. In 2016, a suggestion poll for it was made and was eventually in 2017 sent to developers. But before that, in 2014, back when the developer Lassar still worked for Gaijin, many people asked him if it was to be added. In response to somebody asking for it, Lassar replied, introduction in 1959, question mark, which is a very empty answer. So what I can say is that this plane has definitely been thought about being added for some time now, but all leaks, even with lots of supporting evidence like these, should be taken with a grain of sand, as there are lots of people out there who are wanting to spread misinformation for whatever means. This week I had a person claiming to work IT for Gaijin send me a picture of what he claimed to be stat card photos. The first one was of a German helicopter, the Mi-8. I Google image searched this image and it came up with the same image on a website. So I asked for more proof. In response, he gave me what looked to be at first glance a stat card photo of the Type 10. At first I was very willing to believe this, as the Type 10 is something that I definitely want to see in game. But I noted a few things were off about the photo. The first thing that I noticed was the basket at the end of the turret was missing. And while Gaijin's models have been at times off, they wouldn't miss something so obvious like the basket at the end of a tank. I went to check on the internet whether there was any versions of the Type 10 without the basket on the end of the turret, and I happened to stumble into the original photo. Further examining the amount of effort that went into making this fake is astonishing. The decals had been erased, the hatch at the top had been photoshopped closed, and the grainy texture on all the tank stat card photos was. One thing that also made me suspicious though was the edging was very different than any other stat card photo, and the tank itself did not take up the majority of the shot like you see in, well, every other stat card photo. I confronted with this information and he never replied. Now what's strange though is that he just wanted to spread misinformation. He didn't even want some sort of claim to fame, as he personally asked for his name to be blacked out. And I'm not going to share his name because I don't want him harassed for whatever reason. Though if you are suspicious that someone has been sending you false information, you can come ask me questions. I'll see if anything matches up. I just just to be clear, I'm not trying to say that Bacon Gaming is making up all his information or is being lied to. I'll let you make that judgment whether you believe him or not. This is just a cautionary tale of strange things that happen on the internet, like people lying to you for no gain. But that's all the news this week. If you have any comments, concerns, or questions, you can hit me up down below in the comments section or on my Discord. If you've liked this video, hit the like button. If you didn't like the video, don't hit the like button. If you want to see more, hit the subscribe button. I make these news videos every Sunday. I make random videos throughout the week, so hit that bell icon to be notified anytime I upload anything. And thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great day.
Командир потерял сознание! Наш противник уничтожен!